Welcome to the Teachers Talkin' podcast, hosted by Dustin and Ghazali Abdul Wahab. In this podcast, we discuss all things education and teaching, from innovative teaching methods to challenges to strategies and much, much more. In this discussion or roundtable-based podcast, we bring in educators from all around the world to talk about a variety of education topics so that we can support as many teachers as possible. We want this to be a place of inspiration, personal and professional development, and simply a place where we can elevate education together. Welcome to Teachers Talkin'. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Teachers Talkin'. I'm Dustin here with Ghazali, and today we are digging into how to make learning fun, not just entertaining, but truly engaging in ways that build skills and spark curiosity. And so our guiding question today is, when everyone has Gen AI literacy in their tool belt, what's next? How do we wield these tools meaningfully, like masterclass chefs or DJs, so that we can architect immersive engagement media through the art and science of world building? And with that, we are thrilled to be welcoming back to the podcast Ryan Leong. He's a season 1 guest, and Ryan is a Gen Ed consultant who's guided hundreds of educators and thousands of students in Singapore on responsible AI use. He's now blending coaching, art, and UX design to create edutainment universes that enchant learners of all ages. This is work that's attracted attention from local ministries, education conferences, and big tech companies. And so we are thrilled to have you back, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us again. And why don't we start with just catch us up a little bit since season 1? What's shifted you from focusing on AI literacy to building these edutainment universes? And, what struggles and breakthroughs have really shaped that evolution for you?
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Dustin and Ghazali, for having me back again. And let's jump right into it. I would say that, right, I need to ask y'all first. Are y'all familiar with the entire process of world building?
A little bit.
A little. And I wonder how much our audience is. So tell us.
Yeah. So I like to start with this question. Think of a childhood hero, that you had when you were maybe watching a cartoon, or just dig through your childhood. Maybe y'all can tell me just on the spot. Anyone that comes to mind.
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. There we go. Okay. Dustin, how about you?
Yep. Luke Skywalker. Go with it.
Okay. Guess what? Luke Skywalker too. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what stuck in my head for Luke was when in Return of the Jedi, he just leapt aboard his execution barge and then just took out his green lightsaber. And I was like, whoa, that was like the hero moment for me, and really got me into his character, his values, how he wants to save his friends, and so on. So you can see already, even in just an entertainment setting, you are starting to connect with a person. You're identifying with their values and the greater purpose that they serve. And this can be said for so many other characters. I recently conducted a workshop at the EduTech Asia conference not too long ago, just last week. And when I put up this question, every educator room had someone inspirational to share, right? From the west to the east, we had the Lord of the Rings characters, Gandalf. You had Doraemon, who's an Eastern character. This little robot that takes out things from his pocket. Yeah, so all kinds of characters. And the energy just shifted when they mentioned this. So imagine how we can leverage this and bring it into the education space. So when we get entertainment and edutainment together, wrapped up in an entire universe, we can really bring this kind of legacy teaching to the young ones. And even our young ones are even enraptured by worlds today, right? You have your K-pop Demon Hunters. Recently, even Duolingo released an anime series to capture the audience and then direct them to its education platform. You also have Mr. Beast. I mean, the kids love Mr. Beast, right? He also now has his Beast animations. Yeah, because with this kind of virtual worlds, imaginative worlds, you really spark the curiosity, which is something we really need, yeah, when everyone has AI. And the thing is that if you're in an imaginary world, you can do so much more things beyond physics. So the learning can really be emphasized, can be empowered. It can reach through dimensions, multiverses, Rick and Morty style. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential there. Okay. Did I detour from the questions? I just got too excited. Yeah. But basically, that's what world building is. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us just what shifted in your focus, because it's been, I don't know, like a year and a half since we've had you on the podcast. So just what's shifted then in your way of thinking, where you were when we last talked doing AI literacy, and now you're doing more with these universes. So just what kind of shaped that journey, and what led you, from the literacy piece to the universe piece?
Correct. So the more I taught AI literacy, I realized that sooner or later, everyone is going to have AI in their pocket, right? And the question will start to shift. It will shift from, are you using AI? To this new question, how are you creating immersive experiences that build trust, that engage, that improve the articulation of, let's say, dry topics? Yeah. So that would be the crucial question that companies, education, edtech will have to answer. Am I creating an emotional experience that builds trust, that draws people to me? And does it inspire the curiosity of the learners? Yeah. So we are really going back to the human values, the human spark, the imagination that makes things great. Yeah. So AI is just going to be another, equalizer, but we need to step up and take things to the next level. Who is going to be the one who can articulate and engage? That's the thing. And we need a human for that. No escaping. So I would say that being able to create these universes, making education fun through entertainment is going to be a very powerful skill that we will need to master. And I find that a lot of people, they are not intrinsically good at this because they may end up creating AI slop. And then there's no consistency with the storyline. There's a lot of messiness, too many branches, and then people start to get confused instead of inspired. And that is where people start to reject these worlds and say, it's actually not really working. I want to go back to the simple. ChatGPT just give me a very simple rubrics that I can deliver within the four walls. Yeah, but then we get back to a very basic rote kind of learning, which is also very boring. I mean, nowadays the kids, it's a whole new generation. You have to engage them in ways that the social media is engaging them.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's our challenge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for when we talk about the world building, right? And I guess when with the advent of Gen AI, it has allowed educators to be able to build realistic or really engaging world building settings for our students. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you use Gen AI to create your worlds?
So first of all, okay, for the benefit of our viewers also, maybe I will walk through the process in a step-by-step way so that y'all can also build as we discuss. Yeah. So how I would like to say is that I like to start by giving a big picture. Now with Gen AI, to create a world, you need multiple elements. So you can start by creating image backdrops for your slides. You can start to create music. Now, music is the game changer, right? Now it's so easy to even generate the prompt for a specific type of music to set the ambience, to set the scene. So images, music, then you can set the storyline, right? Just get the AI to build something for you, and then of course add your human flavor, the values, the intentions, especially what you try to teach at the end of the day. So you have your script, and then after that you can start getting a bit more creative. You can create voices, different voices, voice changes. You can start creating visual characters, maybe using Google's Nano Banana, for example. Then put into another app to take away the background. Yeah. So you just put all this into your slides and you really build this universe from scratch already. And the thing is that with a universe that enraptures, it can actually last for a long, long time. Yeah. So in the next day, you can say, I'm going to add in this new character. And you actually leverage this key storytelling question that people like to ask. What happened next? This is a very powerful question. So it's always what happened next in this story. And then you'll just be hooked and you just follow along until kingdom come, right? So you are really investing and you build a world like this. Yeah. So with these multiple formats, now you can chain them and continue to elevate the experience based on what you want to teach.
Sure. maybe our listeners would also like to hear a bit more details on how do you combine the world building with the curriculum, what they need to learn with this setting or science fiction setting or fantasy setting. How does that combine with the actual content that the students have to learn?
Okay, excellent question. I'll bring in a case study that I'm doing actually right now with Google.org and a local social enterprise, Bamboo Builders. So we were contracted to build a revolutionary national anti-scam education program. Yeah, because now, AI scams are getting more sophisticated, right? So we want to engage people in a very fun way, especially for the younger generation. Because no point just educating the adults. If you need to educate the young, so they don't repeat the same mistakes. So we realized we really had to go all out for this. And what we did was we personally curated the intentions for this program. It's to increase the literacy rate for anti-scam resilience. And then next, we went to source for all the data, articles, relevant information from ministries, top organizations that are pushing this message across. So there's alignment and there's also key content we can work with, right? Then after that, we move on to developing the universe. So we created a character, an agent who fights against this crime. We created multiple bad guys. And then we also created the aesthetic of the world, right? Something sci-fi. Yeah, so people remember it. Oh, it's similar to Star Wars, Dune. And then we start to build in the story together with the music. So at the end of the day, right, long story short, we created firstly a theme song to introduce the whole world to us. And then secondly, we built in the story that is easy to follow. And along the way, we put in real newspaper articles. So you actually, when you are immersed in this universe, you are not only going through fictional aspects to keep you hooked, but you also weave in non-fiction aspects, such as the newspaper articles or interviews from the real police officers. Yeah, so you start to see this merge. And then it's also very fascinating. Saying, oh, I didn't know that they brought this in. And we also brought in real case studies of scam victims sharing their stories. Yeah. And those who didn't really want to share outright, we adapted it into the fiction part. Yeah. So that way the key message still goes through. So once we packaged this, we delivered it to different groups of society. So let's say the elderly, the youth in schools, even the special needs community. Yes, because scammers don't discriminate, right? So by doing that, we managed to engage these diverse demographics. And I'm pleased to say that we actually won an award from the Ministry of Digital Development.
Nice.
Very recently. Yeah, so that is the power. If you strategize well and have faith in the process, slowly build up the universe. Yeah, I must admit, and to all our audience watching, it was very tough at the beginning because I was wondering, will people even like the character? Would they even align with the story, in an emotional way? But so we had to make a few tweaks here and there, but I'm just pleased to say we managed to break through. Yeah. And we even built an interactive game with a game development company called Finute. So they got us to make the character interactive. Yeah. The character is based after me, by the way, and my real scam victim stories. So if you probably see my LinkedIn, I'll be wearing this hat. So I engaged the students in person. I actually went to Ghazali school to do that. Yeah. And after engaging the students at the assembly talk, I said, now you can do your homework. Go and play this mobile game where you can play as a digital version of me. And then go and fight the crime. And since we are in a digital world, a virtual world, you can actually hunt down the scammer. Because in real life, it is dangerous, right? But in the digital world, anything is possible. And you can have the action, you can have the all the craziness of fiction. So that way the students go through a process of learning in real life and then moving into a digital realm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, they come up with this story. Wow, this is the most awesome thing ever. I want to share it with my family and my friends, my grandparents. And that is the story, the storytelling, which is the most powerful of all. And it builds a legacy. So I'm just looking to see, if edtech companies can innovate this way, then it's really going to be very powerful, a strong investment for them.
I hear a lot about the level of storytelling and how important that can be in learning and education, and I totally agree with that. I'm curious around from your perspective, like you're saying that like even you kind of like undertaking with a team of people, undertaking of the project that you did, but that being a really tough process and a tough start until you got into it. So if do you I guess my first question is, do you feel like building educational universes, is this something that can be taken on by teachers, or is this something that teachers should be on the lookout for that's coming from ed companies? And if teachers can take it on, then how do they get started? Like, I know you kind of started with some steps already, but like, how would you, especially from your perspective of knowing like that beginning was really a struggle, teachers already have so much on their plate. How can they start to integrate this type of thing in, if indeed it is doable by like an individual person?
Understand? And a very valid question, Dustin. So what teachers can do, just to start out very simply, is to search up the topic they are teaching and find out how it is being conveyed in a very edutaining way. So education times entertainment, right? So for example, if I'm teaching history, do you know that this gaming series, Assassin's Creed, they have actually brought the historical learning aspect into their game, Assassin's Creed Origins. So the setting takes place in ancient Egypt. Okay, in the original game, you go around killing people. It's very violent. Yeah. But Ubisoft, the company that created this game, saw the potential and created a different discovery mode whereby there's no violence. You just run around ancient Egypt in all its full, colorful glory at that time as a character, and you can learn about the different cultural aspects of that time period, its society, its mindsets, and so on. Yeah. So I think when the teachers go through that kind of process, they at least get a sense of, okay, how is this subject being transformed in a way that keeps the attention, makes the learning sticky. Yeah. Likewise, you can also look at how a certain aesthetic keeps the attention there. Look at Minecraft, for example, right? When it first came out, it was just building your own world to survive. And then suddenly Minecraft education comes out, right? Because the kids enjoy the aesthetics, and then suddenly it becomes a way to engage and educate. Yes, even now with vibe coding, you can actually create quizzes in a certain aesthetic, maybe a Roblox aesthetic, Minecraft aesthetic, to teach any subject of your choice. And the kids will be like, hey, what is this? Why does this look so familiar? I'm excited, right? Now I'm curious. And then that's it. Just start playing and, amazing things happen. So that's one way our educators can start.
I'm also thinking about how like this feels a little bit easier to do with subjects like English and history, even science. I could really see how science could work. I'm wondering about things like math or even languages, whether you're studying Spanish or French or something like that, or other types of like elective type courses. How would you say, people can build these edutainment types of universes in other types of content areas that maybe don't lend themselves as easily to, story-based learning as well as some other subjects would?
Correct. One way is to do very simple role play, right? So maybe the teachers can, if they are okay with that, they can dress up, they can bring some props, they can even just generate some music to set the scene in the classroom. Yeah. Or they can even collaborate with influencers who are doing something very edutaining already. So this is an opportunity for the schools and the entertainment industry to really work together more fluidly. Yeah. The grand goal, actually, if money allows, actually, is to build like a theme park, an edu theme park. Yeah. And then there's a whole ecosystem there. Recently, okay, let me admit to you, recently I bought in Singapore, there's this season pass for Universal Studios. Yeah, so I got the 6-month pass just for $160. You can actually go back to Universal Studios anytime
Really?
within the next 6 months. Yes. Yeah. So I think usually one ticket for one entry is maybe about $70-$80. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you buy the season pass for 160, you can go back anytime for the next 6 months. So I just go twice, right? I already get the tickets worth. Yeah. So I go there for a strategic purpose, is to understand how they actually use different kinds of media to engage, to get your attention. Yeah, so maybe it's a Transformers ride, 4D ride, or a roller coaster ride, or even how the characters dress up. Now I can bring all this back to the education space, and a lot of people are not doing this because, to be honest, maybe they're lazy. They just go to give me a simpler Word document rubrics. It's all text, but not all our students learn through text. Some learn better through visuals, through podcasts. So we also have to respect how the students learn, right? The different learning styles. With the whole world, you can engage in any learning style, and the students will appreciate that.
I think that like people are becoming more and more fluent in using AI like ChatGPT and Claude and things of that nature. What you're talking about, I think it takes things to a whole nother level where it's already taken a lot of time for people to even get comfortable with Gen AI usage. So what types of tools would teachers use if they were wanting to even start to dip their toes into this type of like world building and content building for themselves?
Okay, wonderful. So you can actually start with the AI tools you're using. So let's say ChatGPT has its projects function. You can create multiple projects. Google Gemini has its own gems, GEMS. So basically, both are pretty similar. Just go to the platform of your choice, create these little bots, right? And for every bot, you can specify this bot is to create prompts for music, or this prompt is to create. This bot is to create prompts for images. Yeah. So with all these bots, right, you can actually preload instructions. So you just tell the bot once, you are meant to create a prompt for, let's say, Suno, or to create a prompt for Nano Banana. Yeah. And then all I have to do is just save that bot. And afterwards, when I just come back to the bot, I just type in what exactly I need. Just type the keyword. Maybe I need a detective character or solving a mystery. And then the bot will just generate the image of a detective. Yeah. This also requires a bit of advanced Gen AI literacy. The fact that you don't have to copy paste prompts anymore. You just have to specify the instructions, what you really need. And in the future, just type in the keywords. So you are really streamlining as little words as possible, as little of your prompt as possible. Yeah. So I've actually created my whole army of bots whereby all I need to do is either just press one button or just type in one keyword, and then the AI will generate the prompt for me. Then I just send it out to the relevant AI platform that generates a specific format, be it music, image, video, and so on. And then I just put them into a PowerPoint. So it doesn't have to be very complicated. Yeah. So maybe I might need to conduct a workshop for this.
Ghazali's over here contributing. You can see him on the YouTube. Ghazali's contributing. He has been for like a couple of minutes here, but we don't hear any of what he's saying because he's just talking over there on mute.
Oh yeah, Ghazali, yes, please add on if you have anything to share. Yeah. Okay, no worries. Maybe I'll just continue.
All of a sudden we lost him completely.
Okay, no problem. But in the meantime, Dustin, just wanted to share that in the past, world building was a tough process because you needed to hire animators, needed to hire composers. But now with AI at your fingertips, one passionate teacher can become the entire department.
While we're waiting for him to figure out his sound, have you used, I see a lot of people talking about like Canva code. Have you used anything with Canva in any of this world building? Have you dabbled with the Canva code at any point in time?
No, actually. I try to stick to tools that basically free and very easy to use. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, Canva, you can create posters definitely for your events. But for me, I just like to stick to a set of tools such as Suno, Nano Banana, Gemini, and I think that's about it. Actually, you don't need something too fancy. Maybe a bit of 11 Labs here and there, so that one I have to pay for it.
Okay, yeah, because with Canva, the nice thing with that is for teachers, it is free, and I've seen a lot about, and I haven't really had a chance to play with it much, but I've seen a lot about Canva the Canva code being able to like design games and things of that nature too.
Oh yeah, that's also definitely great.
So I was just curious if you've done any of that.
Yeah, the thing is that I've also been going through a lot of AI tool fatigue. Every time there's like so many tools, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just stick with a few that I'm familiar with. Yeah, but games are definitely a great way to keep the engagement also. For games, right, I'm using Gemini's canvas, so the vibe coding part. Yeah, so just create games that I can just put into a QR code and then share it with students or teachers to use. I foresee one day a lot of these AI companies, they'll just put everything within their own platform, right? Like a one-man army thing. So I don't know whether the race is really aiming for that. So everything is just intuitive, just within that platform already. And then you just start to see worlds being created where all these different formats merge together.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about if a teacher wants to pilot an edutainment universe, what would those first couple of weeks look like? Like including your kind of like Gen AI workflow, like prompts, etc. What might that look like for a teacher who wants to pilot something in the first couple of weeks?
I would say the priority would be to create a compelling character, because the character is someone that students will easily resonate with. So if the character doesn't seem to have a visual appeal, I'm being very brutal here. The character doesn't really have a strong visual appeal, then chances are you might just lose their attention very quickly. So that's another danger point about world building. If you don't start right, then you could just kill off your entire world in the first few seconds. But if you do manage to gain success in the area, then you already have the students' attention. Now the next thing would be, what kind of adventures does the character or do the characters go through? And then that's where the story comes in, right? You don't want to marry Sue, right? Someone who excels at everything automatically. You want to see that hero's journey, the struggle, what they pick up along the way. And it must be something that the students can resonate with. Maybe struggles they are going through at that point in time, at that phase of their life. So once you really build that alignment, then it's just gonna exponentially increase your success rate.
So then in using this type of system in a classroom, how would you go about measuring not just learning, but but also transformation of skills? Like what sorts of signals, what sorts of artifacts would you use to tell you that it's working? The kids are learning, that they're transferring information from one task to another.
So what I would do is that I would draw back to certain points in the story, because since we are wired to remember stories. So when I can get the kid to remember that certain part of the story, it automatically triggers that learning point associated with that part. Yeah, and if they can do it with 100% success rate, I am very particular. Must have 100% success rate. Yes, and they can do that, then it really sets the standard for the next level of scaffolded learning.
So
And
would you still include things like rubrics, checklists, things of that nature in regards to all of that? Would you do it in a step-by-step process? Would you have something sort of like at the end of a storyline? Like what might that look like if you were doing kind of story-based learning?
So that can be in the form of a final survey for the students to recount their favorite moments and what they picked up. What would they do with what they've learned that day? So definitely rubrics are still important, but I try to keep these back end if I can. Yeah, because I do not want my students to glaze out after they realize, oh, I have to go through this survey. Unless I integrate it into the story in a way that seems very natural. So that's another strategic move that I have to do when I build the systems into the story. And then they just go through and they say, this was a class, this was an exam. I didn't know that. I was just having fun. But I actually picked up something subconsciously, and I'm happy to share it with my family and friends. I think that's the true victory, when you can make the education process so seamless and so fun that people forget it's actually the school process. Yeah, I know. I mean, speaking from someone who has been through different education systems, right, online and also physically, the thing is that I feel a lot of teachers are weighed down by the KPI they have to resolve. Yeah, no doubt you've seen the news whereby teachers in Singapore are going through a lot. 70% of their work is other things. 30% is teaching. Can you believe that, right? When I saw that, I was also, wow, something has to be done to help them out. Yeah.
All right, let's see if Ghazali's mic works now that he's been out and in and out and in. Nope. He's down and out. I don't know what happened. Everything was working out so well, and all of a sudden, technical
Ghazali,
issues.
would you like to try earphones or something? Maybe if you plug in something, the system might change the...
He sat around so long while you were giving us so much awesome information that his microphone just decided, no, I don't want to. So I'll keep it rolling, and hopefully he can jump back in at some point, because please just keep testing that microphone and like just jump in and see if it's working. Sometimes this happens, and it's what you do. So Ryan, tell us then, with all of this, what kind of like ethical and like well-being guardrails do you then have to set for these types of like Gen AI powered worlds? Like when you think about content boundaries or watching out for bias checks, consent, when to use AI, when not to use AI, like when you really think about kind of guardrails and well-being and just responsibility in the use of these AI tools, what do you recommend?
Okay. Ultimately, the educator is still the gatekeeper. So they will decide what they will be presenting to the class. So whatever they create, they can filter out. Yeah, that's one way. Another creative way is that we allow the hallucinations to occur, but treat this as a learning point in the story. So let's say, for example, I'm teaching anti-scam mindsets to the kids. Sometimes I let a bit of hallucinations and biases come into the picture, and it's all part of the storyline, right? So the storyline is still core. And then when I let the storyline flow, I will call the children up and say, okay, this part is a bit sus. Can you tell me what is weird? What is going on here? And then they start to utilize their critical thinking. They start to utilize the curiosity, the creative thinking. So in that sense, we're also bringing in the soft skills training and the observational skills. Yeah. So it's really all about how we as educators creatively leverage the mistakes AI can make to serve the learning at the end of the day. Yeah.
So what would that look like then? Like when we talk about if we talked about like scale and sustainability in this, because this is just like, it's a lot of work. It's super cool, but also it's a lot of work and time, right? And time is something that teachers constantly talk about having not much of. So what does it look like to scale from one class to sort of like a program to do this kind of?
Okay, so that can be easily achieved with a single bot that you can create. So once again, I go back to a free tool that's very versatile, Gemini Gems. So what I've been experimenting over the past few weeks was I created a gem and I input the instructions, the preloaded instructions. Firstly, to scour the internet for the latest news on a specific topic, right? So let's say I call it the anti-scam ranger. Yeah. So this bot is actually going to function as a quiz master, and it's going to gather all the latest news about scams happening in Singapore and maybe in the region. And then after that, I'll get this bot to generate a scenario-based question that will test students' critical thinking skills. And I'll say, make this quiz endless. So every time I type in a certain letter, so I just make it simple for myself. I said, whenever I type in the letter Q, which is easily accessible on the keyboard, right? You will generate a question based on these parameters. And then at the very end, I set the guidelines. I say, whoever wants to answer with profanity or detour away from the topic, do not answer. And I also tell the bot, do not generate facts, do not create any echo chambers of sycophancy or trying to, agree with everything the user says, because I want the user to think, right? So once all these guide rails are inside, I save the whole bot, and then I just share the link with whoever needs it. And whenever someone goes to this bot, they just type in Q, and then that's it. The bot will just run on its own, give the questions, and then you can put in your answers and it will respond accordingly while training your skills.
You've mentioned building bots within the AIs, a few different times. I am familiar with building bots, but I am afraid that a lot of our listeners have no idea what that means or how you would even go about doing that. And so since that's sort of like one of the early steps, if you wanted to build an edutainment universe, can you tell us what is an AI bot? And just to break it down really simply, and how do you actually design it? Like when you talk about giving it these specific inputs so that it can do specific things, can you walk through at a, the simplest level that you can for a teacher on if you wanted to build a bot, what does that look like? What do you input to help it design what you want it to design with less flaw?
Okay, good. So to put it very simply, if I were to create a bot to teach the English language for maybe kids aged 6 years old, I will just go to Gemini, select new gem, and then pop-up will appear whereby I can input instructions in this specific box. So in this box, I would say, whenever I type the letter Q, immediately create an English quiz suitable for 6-year-olds to test their vocabulary. Okay, that's it. And then just save the bot, and then the teachers can just start playing first to see how the quiz appears.
Right.
And then once that is done, they are familiar with the process, they can revisit the bot's instructions and start to add in their own flavor and more parameters. So eventually, at the end of the day, they will have something that is very suited to their context. And every time they go into the classroom, they just have to flash the bot on the big screen and type Q. That's it. And then they become the facilitator in the class.
Gotcha. Thank you for just kind of breaking that down. This is, like I said, I think that the idea of edutainment universes and storytelling is really cool. And I think that, as people are getting more and more familiar with the use of how they're particularly using AI, this will become easier and easier. But hopefully, in the short term, we're able to get things from companies rather than having to build for ourselves, similar to what you're doing. So what would you say, what's one takeaway that you would want our listeners to remember about moving from basic tools to worlds using Gen AI?
So moving from basic tools to creating worlds, is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say this requires the human mindset of not losing the fire of storytelling, because stories are how we convey value to the whole world, and throughout our lives as well. So we must not lose that aspect. Otherwise, there is no need or no intention to even build a world in the first place. So I feel that we need to convince our educators that remind our educators that this is the heart of what we do. And the Gen AI tools are just the medium to get there in a very efficient and very quick way. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Yeah, once you know your intentions, that you really want to inspire the next generation to heal this world, right? This fractured world that we live in, then going through the world building process is a very natural and exciting way to create that change we want to see. Yeah, so it's more of a mindset shift and an energy shift. Yeah. And educators can start by being inspired by the very worlds that inspired them when they were kids. Yeah. So just revisit your past and see which characters kept you going even through the toughest times. Your Luke Skywalker, your Doraemon, your Gandalf, right? And then create a persona based on that. Maybe you yourself can even be the role model. You immerse yourself in as the shepherd, the steward for the next generation. And then maybe your students might even be asking, I want to join this world as well. Can you give me a nickname? Can you give me a character? And then when things move very naturally, it doesn't feel like work at all already. And that's the energy shift, right? Everything just becomes being and living rather than work.
So what would be Do you have any final thoughts, final words of advice, final tools that you would give as we close up this discussion on edutainment universes?
For our educators, those listening, first of all, thank you so much for following through. To really start off, just go to the platform of your choice, the AI platform of your choice, and just type in, tell me more about world building, give me some examples, and yeah, just tell me what kind of formats I can create when it comes to music, images, videos around this subject that I'm teaching now. And then just let the AI give you that master plan, and then yeah, you can get started. I mean, if you need more information, feel free to connect with us. Yeah, you can reach me on my LinkedIn as well. I'll be happy to share. Yeah, it's a very good investment, we find. And since we've already done it, tried and tested on the national level, and definitely this can also be of great use for your career, for your journey.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you. Ghazali, I wish I could say thank you, but you did not join us today. So I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for being here.
Ghazali will be right.
But Ryan, really do appreciate you being here with us. Again, you have so much knowledge when it comes to the use of AI tools and creating things that can be useful in the classroom to really engage students with learning. So just really always appreciate your insights, and just really excited that you were able to join us again. So thank you so much for being here and sharing this, your journey and these strategies that teachers can use in their classrooms. To all of our listeners, I'm curious, what experiments are you trying to make learning feel more like an immersive world? Tag us, send us your stories, and as always, subscribe, rate, and share the show. And if you would like to be a guest on Teachers Talkin', remember, you don't need to be an expert about anything, just passionate about education with strategies or stories that you would like to share. We have new episodes every other Monday. So thanks for joining us. Keep teaching, keep learning, and keep talking. See ya, everybody.